Hey guys, I am John Carrick, author of Legacy of a Mad Scientist and The Legend of Ashley Fox. Today we are looking at Rocket Girl number 7 by Image Comics, written by Brandon Montclair and Amy Reeder. I swear to God, I'm going to be more gracious about the writing. I really enjoy the art. Let's just look at the art. If we look at this as just an elaborate portfolio piece, what we really get is a teenage girl in New York and in the 80s. And we also get some futuristic scenes of New York in a Blade Runner-esque future. I say 300 years into the future. They say 25 years. 30 years, what was it, 2013? It's not that much. All right, let's do it. I believe issue 6 and 7 came out pretty close to each other, whereas there had been a huge gap between 5 and 6. This is Dae-Young and Annie fighting over where Dae-Young's jetpack is. Well, it's not really clear in the dialogue. Just going to apologize ahead of time for the constant bumps of the camera, but that's what I have to do to focus the tablet camera on the comic book page. So working with what I got. I will say that if you're going to have a writer-artist team on a comic, you really need to be on the same page, literally, about what kind of work you're trying to produce. I think in a case like this, 90% of the heavy lifting is being done by Amy Reeder. She's doing the pencils, inks, and colors. And I don't know how much of the writing she's doing. And I don't know how much of the writing Brandon's doing. Like, is Brandon doing thumbnails? For some reason, I don't think so. And if she's this good, I don't want him doing thumbnails. But that means the kind of writer Brandon needs to be, I think it's none of my business. It certainly does look good. I think in this kind of case, though, now this isn't James O'Barr, right? This isn't Ben Edlund. James O'Barr did The Crow, Ben Edlund did The Tick. This isn't Yonan Vasquez, who did Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. So it's not a writer-artist. And I think what we're coming up against is the fact that if you're the writer and you have an artist doing all this work, what you need to be to them is what Stanley Kubrick was to Jack Nicholson on the set of The Shining. Jack Nicholson had a really hard time becoming the guy that he had to be for The Shining. And Stanley Kubrick had to become his best friend and walk him through every scene. And I think the writer's job in a comic like this is to be the artist's coach, is to explain the nuances of writing, is to explain what writing is, to make this artist such a good writer that they don't hire you for their next book. And then next book they write themselves. And then when they do want to work with you again, then they come back to it with an entirely different mindset. And they value your contributions more. I think that's what naturally happens. I was watching this stuff, Jerry Corley, who's a joke coach. He's a joke doctor, really. And he had the same thing happen to him on a business scale. I've heard this story from other industries. I heard this story about drone pilots taking photography. Only it didn't have such a happy ending as it did for this guy. Look at this. Isn't that's right out of Battle Angel, Ghost in the Shell. It's like when she's falling backwards right before she covers her eyes. Not Alita, but anyhow, this guy's story was that this group wanted to hire him to do an event. They wanted to pay him $5,000. He asked for $5,000, and they didn't hire him. They hired another guy who wanted $40,000. And then the guy who wanted $40,000 hired the first guy, the coach, and the coach coached him, and the guy was a jerk, and he only took half his money because he didn't want to work with him. And the guy took the $40,000 from the other company and did a bad job. And they came back to this first guy, the joke doctor, right, Jerry Corley, and they wanted to hire him. Only this time he asked for $40,000, and they said, "Why so much?" And he explained, "Well, the other guy that you hired came back and tried to hire me to coach him, but he was a jerk. I did the best I could, and so now I know what this is worth." And yeah, I mean, that's the relationship a writer and an artist should have. The writer should be coaching the artist and teaching them how to write. The artist isn't going to be teaching the writer how to draw, but the writer should be teaching the artist how to write. He should be teaching him all his secrets, because it makes the two of you together that much more. It makes your next job, your next effort that much better. It raises everyone up. That's why I really like this joke doctor guy, because the guy who was interviewing him was talking about how, aren't people stealing your work? Yeah, they do. You just got to write more. You just got to be better. And I really like that philosophy. I really, that works for me. This is not what's her name's mom. This is her former partner. This girl has quit the police force. She's at her parents' home, and the police commissioner is actually a male, and he has a mustache. It's not just a female on testosterone treatments. This is apparently a very diminutive male. And they barge into this girl Tasha's house, and they need her help with Daeyoung because Daeyoung's gone back in the past, and quantum mechanics has turned the power out in all of New York. That's what they did. I didn't notice it. No, if no one said it, I didn't notice it. It wasn't impactful enough just to have a darkened city. I didn't care. I don't care because these characters are crazy. This is a Scooby-Doo episode. She's dressed like she's out of Scooby-Doo. They are beautiful, though. We are going to do J. Scott Campbell's Danger Girl because his characters are just this good. I hope this is all in focus. Her mom and dad. Her dad looks like a Native American guy. Again, I don't mind forced diversity when it's done well. In this comic, it doesn't draw attention to itself. It's fine. New York City is like this. There's no overtly anti-white dialogue, so this is just a comic book drawn by a female who lives in Greenwich Village. You get the same thing out of someone drawing in Silver Lake. Or San Diego. Any big city in America is like this nowadays. And it doesn't matter. I'm racist because racism is funny. I'm not a racist because I hate people. I'm a racist because I want to make jokes. The blacks get to make jokes. I want to make jokes too. I really do like this comic, though. I was listening to a guy today. I just heard his Earthquake with a guy named Joel Byers. Hot Breath is his podcast. And this comedian's name is Earthquake. And Earthquake did a bit about January 6th where if he had been security, he'd have been shooting everybody to protect democracy. And it was an overtly racist joke. And I don't care as long as I get to make overtly racist white jokes. As long as we can all make jokes, man. Ain't nobody got to get shot. The problem is some people can dish it out, but they just can't take it. Some people are sensitive. Some people, you call them one word, they flip out. That's definitely got to be in my joke routine. I could say one word and get this whole room to blow the fuck up. This art is amazing. I hope it's in focus. I'd have been the first stand-up comedian to ever get shot on stage. No, thank you. I just want to make comics funny again. That's what I want to do. This is a comic. So I want to make a movie so Shane Black is in Predator, right? Shane Black wrote Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon had a decent amount of comedy in it. There's a scene that they shot on the Barham overpass right next to the next to the 101 freeway, but you can see the Hanna-Barbera animation studio in the background. And right now, Valhalla Pictures, Gale Ann Hurd's company, is right down the street from there. Just a few doors down, I think. Valhalla. This is awesome. So these guys are apparently, this is very much a G.I. Joe or Scooby-Doo crime. Apparently the mayor and some other guy, this might be a police commissioner, they're doing a key to the city sort of ceremony. And these gangsters are threatening to kill them because they don't help people enough. Although they're threatening to kill them and they haven't killed anyone yet, and Dae-Young is arriving just in time. She knocks them out and takes their guns. So this is where, she's a crime fighter, but no one wants to do real crime because of the nature of this book. That's part of the reason she's a teen crime fighter. They would have had a better time setting this in the microcosm. This is why we get all these Japanese ninja high school mangas. If you've noticed, everything in Japan is set in some sort of Xavier school for the gifted. For this exact reason, you're trying to combine real world stakes with childhood consequences. Childhood consequences where you're a minor and you can't be charged as an adult sort of thing. These bad guys, if they wanted to kill them, this scene would have been, this would have been like the AC.282 in RoboCop. They wouldn't have waited for the teenage girl with a special helmet and no bulletproof vest to get there. But it's beautiful. It is beautiful. Is it not? This I read at the end, and I wouldn't have known this if I hadn't read it. This is apparently Radio City Music Hall. I don't give a shit. I've never been there. I don't care how close to the real thing it is. I just want to read a good comic. This whole comic could have been set in the future, and I'd have been more happy with that. I love this kick. She's a Rocketeer now, right? She's literally a Rocketeer. I suppose that was a pun they needed to do. This is a comedy, only it's not, there's no punchlines. The punchlines are literally bad guys getting kicked in the face. I think I discovered, I'm not sure about this, but I believe a tag is multiple punchlines for a single setup. Or you've set up a circumstance and a tag is like a jab, 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 cross. Those are all punchlines, I think. I've only been studying jokes for 2 days. I've already got like half a notebook full of notes. Nah, that's not right. Maybe, yeah, it's about right. But it's what my stories are missing. It's an element that I need to challenge myself. So Dae-Young has beaten up the bad guys. Everybody's here. They're giving her the key to the city. New York in the future is shut down this quantum mechanics building, and they've shut off the power. Next issue, Dae-Young fights the cops a little bit more. It looks like a headbutt and a backflip. Amy Reeder is an incredible artist. She's doing her own colors. This should be a cartoon. She should be working in animation. You know, there's a lot of drama going on right now over Rob Liefeld and him being shut out of the party for Marvel. Talk about that. No, we can talk about that now. And Marvel's attitude, Shane has glimpsed this up close and personal, and I've glimpsed this. This is why I went into TV. This is why I'm living in Los Angeles and went to animation school instead of having gone into comics in the first place, because what they told Shane was, if you wanted to make movies, you should have wrote screenplays, not comic books. that's the Hollywood attitude to comic book writers. And I saw that in the 90s as a kid growing up in the Midwest. Once Image happened, it was clear that was the way people think. And when I got out here, I saw the same thing. You know what was funny? When I got out here and I wanted to get into video games, they said, we're mostly hiring people from TV because we want those sensibilities. So I went into television. But I was always writing, and now I'm about to have 3 novels, so no one owns my stuff but me. I didn't write it for someone else like Alan Moore or Doug TenNapel. I own my IP. Ashley Fox is cooler than Daeyoung. She's got a brighter future too, even though Amy's a much better artist and has 10 issues out published. This story's over. My story's just beginning. This is incredible art. This looks a lot cleaner than some of the other stuff. I really like this too. That's very cute. I wonder if that's colored traditionally, or if it's done with markers. Like if it's done with markers, or if it's done with if it's done digital. I don't know. If it's done digital, I would call that rushed. This is the bit where she writes about how this is Radio City Music Hall. And I love this, and I love this, and I love this. Yeah, here we go. This is the clean art. Look at that. Look at how beautiful that is. I spent 2 hours drawing today a Scots pine tree. I've done it about 30 or 40 times now, and I finally got it looking almost right. I'm going to combine it with my first rendering, and I think I will finally be there. I was having the hardest time figuring out how to do the shadows with the tree, and I ended up painting with light. That was the mindset I needed to do it right. Wacom Stylus in Photoshop. This, I have no idea how she's doing this, but it's beautiful. I hope she's doing this by hand with pencils and inks. I would love to buy her originals. Look at how great that is. Look at how shaded the face is. And it's still, because of the backlighting, because of how she did this, your attention is still drawn to the eyes. That is so good. That's a great artist. Anyone could write for her, and she could make anything beautiful. And that's the problem with this book. Amy is a better artist than the subject material demands. And or they should have worked on the story before they dove into drawing. I love the pink boombox. I was going to say I'm jealous of all the pink she gets to use in her stuff, but it is fucking gay. So, all right, let's do the next bit. Hey guys, so we were looking at Rocket Girl number 7 by Amy Reeder and Brandon Montclair. And I was saying that I think a writer in this sort of circumstance where you have such an incredibly talented artist, this writer needs to give her everything he's got, his best ideas. He needs to show her how to write the perfect comic, and this is not it. This comic breaks all the important writing rules. So I can only hold the writer accountable. Because if the artist took the power away from him, he let her. And he didn't find a way to make good writing her idea. If there was a conflict here, then that was a lack of teamwork. The Buddhist writers, I've thought about this a lot recently, and I'm not sure why. Ego has been on my mind for some personal reasons. Speaking of, Legacy of a Mad Scientist, Legend of Ashley Fox, ashleyfox.ninja, alphachannel.games. Check our stuff out. Amazon, Smashwords, or right here on YouTube as audiobooks. The medieval Catholic writers, St. Thomas Aquinas, they had an article about him that they think they know what he looks like now. They put their names on everything. Martin Luther put his name on everything. Constantine put his name on everything. It's something white guys do. Ozymandias. In India, the sutras, when someone wrote in the spirit of the Buddha, they never would have dreamed to put their name on it because they really felt divinely inspired. They felt, this is the Buddha expressing its Buddha nature through me, just a lowly acolyte here at the temple. And that's what Marvel wants out of their writers and artists. They want people who just worship at the altar of Spider-Man and bring their best ideas to the table, like Todd McFarlane was doing in the early 90s. And then they put those on lunchboxes and beach towels and t-shirts and don't even say thank you. And now here we are. So look at what just happened to Rob Liefeld with Deadpool. Now you could argue that he left right after he created Deadpool and it was all the writers and artists at Marvel in the years afterwards, or it was Ryan Reynolds. It doesn't matter. He still deserves the respect. They haven't changed the costume. You know? And they cut him out of the party, wouldn't shake his hand on the red carpet. Comic book writers aren't movie writers. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Novelists. You could never write a film. Those days are over, Hollywood. You've been exposed as a bunch of pedophiles, Jewish money launderers. No one needs your money to make movies anymore. With the Adobe Suite and an iPhone, that's anything anyone needs. Soderbergh already shot a feature film on an iPhone. Marvel, DC, what were Walt Disney's last words? When it comes to jokes, you people are the most sensitive. White people are the least sensitive when it comes to, y'all make jokes, we roll our eyes. Make jokes about a black person, they lose their minds. I was just thinking about that, thinking about this guy, Earthquake. I haven't seen any of his bits. Earthquake! He owned a club in Atlanta. Okay. I'm sure it was a lot of fun. I'm sure he made a lot of money. I'm sure he did a lot of blow. Good for you, man. He doesn't write. Steve Harvey told him not to write his notes, not to write his jokes down. Bill Burr doesn't write his jokes down. He just riffs. Okay. I don't care. Doesn't matter. The point is, if he can make jokes about shooting people, a race-based joke, and I don't care that he made it against white people. I don't care. That doesn't bother me at all. My question is, and here's where I'm pulling this from. I heard Cat Williams say this once. You can say this to anyone. You ain't shit. You ain't shit. You can sure say this to this guy. This guy's got a really thin skin. Even with all his money and all his success, I could talk shit to him and fucking how much. There's a line from Atmosphere. I hate stealing stuff and not quoting it. This is another reason I couldn't let joke theft bother me. There's a line from Atmosphere about Shattered. How much force would it take to see your light bulb shattered? And how much shit talking, how much rap battle would it take to fuck with this guy? If he's out there making revenge jokes, see, this is the reason I'm talking about this. Because if I'm going to write jokes for my stories, and I'm writing a lot right now, I have been a lot recently, I don't want to write mean jokes. I don't want to write punching down jokes. It's too easy to make jokes about an entire continent that never discovered the wheel or learned to count to 6. Whew, man. Yeah, Ralphie May grew up in the South, and so he wouldn't touch that. And I don't want to do that. So I need to get out of the mindset of what's funny in a mean way to what's funny in a uniting way. I was listening to this guy, Jerry Corley, the joke doctor. And he once at a Mexican club, he was talking smack, making jokes, and here's the thing about jokes. Here's why jokes are dangerous. Jokes are dangerous because they're rooted in disrespect. And when people get disrespected, they lose their fucking minds. You don't even have to have money involved. You absolutely do not have to have money involved. This guy, one of the guys in the crowd said, so your mother's a CUNT. See you next Tuesday. And he replied back with something that he didn't even say. He didn't tell us what it was, his response was. But I guess this guy threw a bottle at him and then outside threw a punch at him. I don't know if he connected or how much of a fight he got into. A lot of comics get into fights, get assaulted. Bobby Lee got beat up by Ari Shaffir. That is hilarious to me. Little Bobby Lee, you would hit him? Ari Shaffir seems like a merciless Jew, so that's another thing. How could I get into comedy and leave the Jews alone? So I couldn't do racism. I wouldn't want to do ex-wife jokes. I wouldn't want to do making fun of people jokes. I was thinking about Bill Cosby. Like, Bill Cosby's the cleanest comedian ever, but he's the dirtiest guy ever. All that energy from not doing dirty comedy went into his personal life. In order to keep the stage work clean, he's a disgusting human being. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. How many comedians drink and drug themselves to death, you know? I guess John Belushi on the audition for Blues Brothers came in, and before even the audition with the previous guys got interrupted because everyone out in the waiting room was laughing too hard because John Belushi was in there cracking jokes. That's awesome. That's a great story. I never could have been that guy because I did not have the physical confidence. Being the only kid in the 7th grade basketball team to never score a point all year, the kid who just hand-eye coordination was nil, I could not have been funny and not have had that take over my entire personality. I needed to go to martial arts class. That's what I needed to do. I needed to learn I needed to wait until I could get on. I can ollie now, not very high, but I was able to do it the last time I tried. So I needed that before I could make jokes. And now if I'm going to make jokes, they need to be the kind of jokes where everyone feels better off for it. I was listening to Ralphie May too. And he I don't know if you guys know who Bushwick Bill is from the Ghetto Boys, but Punched on Some Concrete. I used to know that whole song by heart. And Ralphie May started his career in Houston. And so he, was known in those clubs. And apparently at some club, at some point, Bushwick Bill pointed a gun at the manager and said, "Bring out the fat white boy." That's cool. So to ingratiate yourselves into places where they think you do racist jokes. Anthony Jeselnik had a Jewish girlfriend, and his best friend writer is a Jewish guy. And there's a lot of jokes to be made about Jews plotting the downfall of Western democracy, of Western civilization, and anything that they can find to do, any white person they can find to corrupt, especially in media, they go after it. And so it's easy to say Amy Schumer stole her whole act from Anthony Jeselnik, and that the Jewish influence that he's getting in his life has made him a child killer of a comedian who will never have a family. And if a Jew's entire goal is to destroy white society and end white families, well, there's another blue-haired, blonde white guy who will never have a family. And Jews like Sarah Silverman see that as a victory. And they'll be laughing about that. Seth Rogen, Sarah Silverman, Judd Apatow, they love Anthony Jeselnik because he's a win for them. How do I turn that into a comedy bit? I would love to be the SS comedy bit, the SS comedy troupe. I've been talking about it a long time with my friends about doing an SS comic book. I've been thinking about it, not so much talking about it with them, thinking about the ways to do it and the storylines I would tell. And I think I could make that really funny. I think that's going to be my next project. I'm almost done with the novel I'm working on now, which is Odin and a bunch of time-traveling angels. And the next one is going to be Time-Traveling Hitler, which is the goal of the Time-Traveling Angel book, is to get to Adolf von Hitler, Vampire Hunter. And if I can make that funny, unification style funny, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I'll trade my right eye for that. Today's conflicted card, deck number 3, the 2 of diamonds. And they named the Secretary of Defense, I don't remember his name, and I'm not going to look at Brandon, I think is it, Brandon Carroll. And he believes that the power grid is the least defensible thing in America. And what do you think would happen if the power grid went out for a year in this country? A year without power may as well be zombies. A year without power means no gas stations, no ATMs, no supermarkets, no work for a whole lot of people, especially in municipal areas. A city like Los Angeles will become a vampire and zombie apocalypse inside of 2 weeks. Guaranteed. There's no way to prevent that. And we're also doing this tarot deck that I recently got, Fantasy Tarot. Look at this side. I really like this. This came out of Australia. The only ones I could get were from Australia. This is the Dryad. I'm loving the art on this. And I'm thinking about how also I can do Banksy, funny Banksy level art. How can I put jokes in art? Because that's the other thing I need to level my art up. If I'm going to be slow, it has to be funny. If you're going to be slow, it has to really stand out. And if it's not going to be magnificent art, then it has to be funny. It has to be really, really funny. So, yeah. I hope you guys are doing well. If you have nothing to do today, check out our comic book, Ashley Fox, Ninja Babysitter. There's some jokes in here. I was not a joke writer when I wrote this. It was not written with comedy in mind. But this is it's a good comic book. I'm very happy with it. The other one had more color. Here's some colorful stuff for you guys. It's in the description. There's also the Ralphie May at the Comedy Store. Him doing his it's like an hour and a half, hints, tips, and tricks for comedy, which is great for writing in general. So, can't do nothing but grow. All right, I think that's it for me today. I don't know if I have any, I think there was some things I wanted to say about joke writing, that it's dangerous, that disrespect is what can get you messed with. I don't know. All right, see you guys tomorrow. Bye.